This episode, we are going to talk about stress, how it's impacting your progress, potentially slowing down your progress. If you are that woman who is, you're doing all of the things, but you still feel stuck, this could be why. Welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. I'm going to kick off with my new tradition of unfiltered. It's a bit of a bugbear. I don't even know what to call it this week. I'm in a bit of a limbo at 42 years old of what to wear. And I know that this probably seems so irrelevant. Today's podcast topic is definitely on stress, and I promise I'm going to give you all of the good stuff on that. But does anyone else relate to this? Because honestly, I need to put it out there so I feel less alone, because I don't know where to shop. I don't know what my style is. I don't know what I feel like I'm in that place, you know, where you're not old enough to dress older, but you're not early 30s anymore. And so like what's on trend is changing by the minute, and I've never really been one to buy the on trend stuff. I've always kind of known my style, and I just feel like I'm in limbo at the moment. And the summer's coming up and I need a bit of a wardrobe refresh. And genuinely last night, and this is why it's on my mind this morning, last night I was like, where are people shopping? And I've asked some of my friends, because my friends always just rock up looking, you know, gorgeous and glam. And I'm like, see, but where are you even buying this stuff? So I seen a thing once on Simon Cowell, and it was, you know, saying he just wears the same thing every day just for ease. I feel like I'm Simon Cowell, essentially. I get up in the morning and I just put on gym kit because it's easy and it makes my life easy. But then when I want to go somewhere, or it's the summer, and I just think, you know what, Nick, let's get out of the gym clothes. I don't know what to wear. Ladies, am I on my own? What is going on? Please drop in the comments below any suggestions. Maybe any good websites. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. Maybe it's because my body is changing and I'm fighting against it, trying to wear clothes that, you know what, I just don't want to be looking like I did 10 years ago anymore. Anyway, that's the unfiltered for this week. But moving on to, more importantly, one of the biggest struggles that I see, that I can speak from experience, also from the women that I work with, is stress and how it's impacting how we feel in our bodies, how we show up, and our results. And I want to touch on this. First of all, it's not doom and gloom, but it's very much reality. When we get to that age, ladies, of sort of, I'm going to say like 38 plus, naturally our cortisol, which we know is the stress hormone, naturally our cortisol starts to elevate naturally. Okay, it's just a part of aging as a woman. We also, around the same age, start to very, very slowly decline in muscle mass and bone density. That's not wholly relevant to the stress, but I just want to point that out because a big part of this podcast is I want to champion us women at any age, taking care of ourselves, lifting weights, doing hard things, speaking up for ourselves, being our biggest cheerleader. And I'm actually realising that, like, oh, okay, I'm past the age of 38 now. All of those things, I check them boxes. I am starting to, my cortisol is starting to naturally elevate. I'm starting to lose muscle mass potentially if I don't do something about it. And all of the other things that we associate with old age. I don't know about anyone else, but the realisation that you're 42 when you feel still 21 is, it's quite a shock to the system. When you look on paper and you think, okay, these things that start to decline with age, I qualify for these. And so stress management becomes even more important. It doesn't help that our cortisol also naturally elevates because that is the stressor hormone. But one of the biggest struggles that I'm seeing at the moment is, and you might relate to this, either there's two things going on. There's the woman that is overtraining, absolutely smashing it, and not getting any closer to where you want to be because your body's constantly under stress, whether it's stress from exercise or work-related stress. Stress is stress, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Or there's the other complete flip side of like, you are so under stress with life and kids and no time for yourself, and work's very demanding and everything else, that you can't physically prioritise yourself. And the thought of prioritising yourself adds to the stress, which is really sad for us, I think, because we're going to realise at some point in our lives, all of us, I know that we will, none of the things that we were stressing about, or very few of the things that we were stressing about, really mattered, and we should have just prioritised ourselves and really took care of ourselves like someone that we loved, which again it's wild, isn't it? This is probably going to sound a bit weird, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I can't even remember who it was, and I don't even know why maybe it wasn't someone I follow. I don't know how she popped up, maybe it was on YouTube. Anyway, she was interviewing a guest, and this guest was talking about some of the things that she does to better take care of herself, stay regulated. And she'd come from this place of, high anxiety, doing all of the things. And one of the tips that she shared, which I just thought was genius, she was talking about inner child and therapy, and I'm fascinated by all of that. I love conversations around that. I haven't done any of that inner work myself personally, but I like to listen to those conversations. I don't know if anyone else does. And she was saying, one thing I do at night, I tuck myself in at night. Not physically, obviously, but I say goodnight to myself. So when I turn over and I tuck myself in, I say, I don't know what her name was, I think it was maybe Melissa. I say goodnight to myself. I remind myself of the things that I'm really proud of that I've done today. I remind myself of maybe my value, how much I love myself, and that's it. I go to bed. And I was like, that is genius. Like, why? Because we encourage our kids to do this, don't we? And maybe, those who we love. And it's the smallest thing, and no one even needs to know that you're doing it. Passing that forward. That was not part of today's podcast, but it's just jumped into my mind. I'm passing that forward. I've actually, some nights when, so my hubby was working away, solo parenting for like 10 days, and I find I scroll later of a night. I know it's one of my things not to do, but anyway, I'm still a work in progress, same as everyone else. I find myself scrolling late of a night, more so when I'm on my own. Probably because boredom. And I haven't got that accountability of my husband just turning the light off and going to sleep. But also because you're doing everything yourself, so that's your downtime. So I naturally try to go to bed, more heightened because I've been on my phone late. So I just started doing that thing. I was like, okay, so, and I used to actually say a little prayer of gratitude. I still do that sometimes as well. This is 60 seconds in your mind. I don't say it out loud. I'll just, in my mind, give thanks for whatever. I started giving thanks to myself. Not all of the time. I've not built the habit yet. Oh my gosh. Watch the difference it has on just calming your nervous system. It's wild. So I'm going to bed and I'm highly strung off, like I'm heightened off that little act of, and I don't know whether it's self-love, reflection of the day, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Calm your central nervous system. So I've just realised it is tied into today because we're talking about stress. But okay, if you feel like you're doing everything right and you are still stuck, this could be a big part of the reason why. And stress doesn't just affect our minds, ladies, it affects our physical body. It affects our mood, our energy, the decisions that we make, our inability to make decisions. It affects our workouts, it affects how we recover after training. It affects our temperament with our kids. It's the hidden saboteur. Is that the right word? I think. And it makes it a lot harder to stay consistent. And I think sometimes we get comfortable feeling stressed. Like it's just, we normalise it. We almost, how many of you actually don't know how to switch off? I think this is one I can relate to. And it's not because we don't want to be stressed. We want to be able to switch off. We want to be able to go on holiday and relax and take life in our stride. But we don't realise that our life is so fast-paced, 10 to the dozen. Routinely, that we don't know how to flip the switch. So I want to try and give some context around some of the things that you might be missing that might just be keeping you in this sort of like fight or flight, high stress mode, and more importantly, how to recognise it, what to do about it, so that we can get out the other side, we can begin to thrive, and we can better manage the stress. Okay, first of all, cortisol 101. This is a very popularised word at the moment, cortisol. I know it's everywhere and it's pretty demonised, I think. It's a necessary hormone in the body. Like, we need cortisol. There's a reason that we have it. It's healthy in small amounts. It gives us that boost in adrenaline. I know that you always hear that analogy, you know, fight or flight. If you were running from a tiger, like that adrenaline, that is cortisol. However, when it is present in the body, but it's overactive and it's high levels of cortisol for too long, then it's counterproductive. Then it starts to impact our sleep. Then it starts to impact even how we store body fat. I don't know if anybody, you know, listening to this knows that you're in a high stress position, knows that actually one of your biggest bugbear sticking points is removing visceral fat around your belly, fat around the waistline. Visceral fat is just more responsive to cortisol. So it naturally, and cortisol is, like, we can't also ignore the fact that cortisol triggers cravings. So we've got two things going on. We're triggering the high sugar, high fat kind of foods. We're eating them impulsively. We're gaining weight around our middle. Stress has got, you know, a lot to answer for when it comes to this. But it's important to know that cortisol is not, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not, you know, we're not trying to get rid of it completely. We're just trying to better manage and regulate ourselves. Also, if your nervous system is always on overdrive, always, you will find it harder to recover. So a piece of feedback that I've given to a client this week, and I said, you're not going to like this. She trains 6 days a week. Okay, she's got a fat loss goal, but she has also got a goal, a performance goal. So she's like, I want to be able to smash this event that I'm training for, but I would also love to drop. I think she wants to drop 20 pounds. Okay, so she's very fit. She's training 6 days. I've now got insight. We're working together, and she's training 6 days a week. She is killing it training. Okay, then she also then goes to a very intense job, and I said to her this week in check-in, I think we need to drop a training day. And I know you're not going to want to hear that because it's a thing that you love, and there's a trend at the moment, isn't there, with, it's a trend, but it's a healthy trend, you know, running and high rocks and hybrid style sessions, and, you know, we love it. We love the way that we feel after these workouts, and we know that, like, we're feeling fitter, you know, as we're doing them. We feel great after it. It sets us up for the day. So that becomes our fix, which is great. But we're constantly overstimulated. We're never giving ourselves a chance to recover. So we don't recover from the sessions in itself. So what is then happening is the whole rest of the day we're just finding it really hard to navigate hunger, satiety. Maybe, you know, we're a little bit all over, especially late of a night when food cravings can kick in, and it's just because this hormone it's just wreaking havoc. We also release cortisol when we exercise, when we work out. But again, that's in healthy amounts. But if you are constantly flooding the system with it, it becomes counterproductive. And your body doesn't know the difference, as I've spoken. It doesn't know the difference between this healthy experience that's producing cortisol, or, you know, the scenario that we've got in our minds that is also producing cortisol. I've got this one really vivid memory. I actually feel nervous to even share this because it honestly, I can feel my heart starting to race when I think about it. I'm hoping that I don't get emotional. It was when Isadora was maybe 18 months old. This is just an example of how your body can release cortisol as if you are running from a bear and you are genuinely just sat thinking about something. Like your brain is what stimulates the release of the hormone. So whether you're physically doing the activity or you're in the event or not, it doesn't matter. If you're recalling an event that heightens you or makes you feel anxious or worried, your brain is going to stimulate the release of this hormone. And we were on a holiday and we were walking, all of the adults, all of the kids, and Izzy had kind of just started walking, I think, and she always has an inflatable on, and we're just walking to take her to the toilet. Other side of this lovely beach club that we were at, and the pool was very shallow, very, very shallow. I don't even know why she didn't have an inflatable on. Okay, she's with me, and we're walking, and I mean it was not even ankle deep. Okay, but it did sort of like then go off and get a bit deeper, but we were nowhere near that bit. I must have took my eye off her for what seemed like not even the blink of an eye, but it was enough for her to fall behind me and go under the water, and she'd gone into this deeper bit. And if I think about it now, I can feel that little thing coming in my throat now, honestly to God. And I think about it all the time. I don't know why I think about it. I don't know why I traumatise myself. There'll be things that I'm sure you think about, whether it's, run-ins with people or the bad day at the office or the run-in that you have with your boss or whatever, and it brings on this same feeling. And I can vividly picture it. She's under the water and she's scrambling and she can't get out, and I ran over and I got her. And I'm so heightened by that. Like if we go on holiday now, I'm touching all of the wood. This desk's not wood. God, I'm the over-heightened parent. That one experience has scared the shit out of me. And like I've got that whole thing going on now where I need to take a drink because I've got a dry mouth. If you are recalling things like this on a daily basis because maybe you're in a stressful work environment, or maybe you are having a tough time at home on your own with 2 kids, or whatever the form of stress is, if you're constantly in this state all day, and it's overplaying in our mind, isn't it? We have like an echo chamber effect. So, and again, listen back to previous episodes, I'll explain how to sort of like break that cycle. Listening to something that can just break the cycle can be a really great way to just pattern interrupt, because the echo chamber effect is that like we wake up a lot of the time on autopilot. We think the same thoughts on a daily basis, we revisit the same conversations, we run through the same scenarios. And again, if those are scenarios, conversations that are maybe causing you a little bit of stress, your brain is like boom, cortisol is being released into your bloodstream. Okay, then you go into the cupboard and getting the chocolate biscuits, or then you can't say no to the office snack table, or whatever it is that is just your quick fix to relieve that stress. Because we know, as I've said, cortisol triggers cravings, and we're not just craving anything. We're not craving a salad, we're craving sugar, we're craving high fat. We normally tend to crave something like high calorie. But then what happens is we then go and have the high calorie, let's use a chocolate bar as an example. The chocolate bar then gives us a boost, a release in serotonin, which is the happy hormone. It gives us that boost of dopamine, which is the reward hormone. Okay, so in that moment, we relieve the stress. We get the reward, we get the happy hormone, bingo. We've relieved ourselves of stress. So overnight, when you're going to eat the chocolate biscuits or have the bar of chocolate, we've all been there, the bag of crisps, whatever it is, your vice, we're soothing our stress is what we're doing. And I get this a lot of time with clients because they want to know how to keep cravings under control, stop snacking. I'm trying to think of like common phrases that we use. And actually a lot of the work that we do, when we're working together, is we go to what's underpinning that. So what's causing you to snack, overeat, binge, whatever it might be, and it's stress. Okay, so where's the stress coming from? How can we better manage it? And you might be listening to this and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe that is why. Maybe I'm not greedy, or it's not that you've got no willpower. You've just done a really stressful bedtime routine, and you just need a quick fix of not chocolate. You need a quick fix of dopamine and serotonin, the hormones that just give you that little, they just give you that break from feeling like fight or flight. So what can stress, what can being stressed at all times, what can that really look like? It can look like overtraining, which obviously I've just touched on. Some of us don't realise that that's part of it, because we see training and working out as such a healthy thing to do. And again, that's more related to those of you who you are paying attention to your diet, you're smashing your workouts, you're still not where you want to be. It could just be you're not stressed from work or anything else, but we just need to allow for a bit of recovery period so that your body can thrive from these sessions that you're doing. What else it can look like is saying that you're fine, when actually you are wired to the core. Can we stop saying that we're fine all of the time when we're not? Just say that you're not. And you might not feel comfortable saying it to everyone. You might not feel comfortable, saying it on the schoolyard when someone in passing just asks, how are you? But when you are with the people who are closest to you and you get the chance to talk about it, because you're not burdening anyone. You're not offloading. It's really important for you even, and this is I think why journaling is also, I don't journal. I would love to be one of those women who, I follow this woman on Instagram and she's brilliant. Her name's Tess, and she's I don't know if she's like a child psychologist, but she's got 4 kids and her page is all about being this happy, regulated mum, and she journals every morning. And she reckons that this just helps her get the thoughts out of her head onto paper so she can show up as the mum that she wants to be for her kids. Because a lot of the time, the version of her that her kids are getting are because she's bottling all of these other things up. And I'm fascinated by that. And I think when I have journaled, I definitely see the value in it. But again, if you don't have someone that you can talk to, or you don't feel comfortable having the conversation, just write it down. Write down maybe what you feel is stressing you out, or just the thoughts in your head, and just try to make sense of it on paper. Even that can help us just realise, okay, none of this is actually, when I look at it, when I step back and I look at it or I speak about it out loud, it actually doesn't feel as overwhelming as I'm allowing it to feel when it's just up here in my mind. So stop saying that we're fine. I'm guilty of doing that. But if you're wired and you know that you are that swan whose legs are going 10 to the dozen under the water, but appearing to everyone else like all of my shit is together at all times, let your guard down, because it could have a bigger impact to your health and your results than you realise. If you're waking at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're waking at 2, 3, 4 a.m, oh my gosh, you're jumping out the bed, or you're waking with heart palpitations, or I'll often speak to women, and again I've experienced this, they're getting a fright almost in the middle of the night. That can be directly correlated to just an abundance of this uncontrollable cortisol hormone. It's part of perimenopause. So if you're a woman in your mid-40s and you're experiencing this, it's a really common symptom of perimenopause because of the elevated levels of cortisol. Cortisol also naturally elevates around menstrual cycle. So again, menstrual cycle at any age, we find ourselves feeling a little bit more emotional, a little bit more temperamental, a bit more heightened, maybe less tolerant. Again, it's this lovely hormone cortisol, which is not inherently bad. We just need to be aware of that is what's going on. So it increases with menstrual cycle. It increases also during perimenopause. So you might be experiencing those 3 a.m. wake-ups just as a byproduct of that stage of life. But again, we just want to make sure that if that's the case, we are definitely paying attention to the other stresses during the day that are just adding to that. Again, I don't know what episode it was, but I spoke about maybe some of the habits that we're in that are sabotaging our results that we don't even realise. And one of them is this: screen time, which produces cortisol, running on coffee all day, constant go mode, you've got these unhealthy habits. The unhealthy habits are your way to decompress. If that's you're constantly in fight or flight, 10 to the dozen, got to be all systems go at all times. And then the only way that you can come down from that is you have to have the glass of wine, the bottle of wine, the takeaway meal, whatever it is, you know it's unhealthy, but also as well, that is your one release in the week. All of this is symptomatic of you are running on high stress. Emotional eating at night, feeling like you're all or nothing with either diet or your workout. Like all or nothing's a big one. If you're highly stressed, you will find it really hard to just stay consistent and just find your stride, and even like apply the 80-20. You know, the thought of us even allowing that 20% flexibility stresses us out, freaks us out more. So we're all or nothing. So it's really important to remember that fat loss, if your goal is fat loss, it's not just calories, it's not just smash the workout and reduce your calories. It's creating an environment, like an internal environment, where your body is at ease and is able to run the process of fat loss. I'll give you the analogy that I have used with clients. It's just, I think of our body internally as like a little warehouse, little factory of, let's just say, minions, okay? I don't know why. When I'm talking to my kids about digestive system and one thing and another, because we do have these fun chats, I use the analogy of, like, you know, the guys inside have got different jobs to do and they're running around in like little hard hats. Fat loss it's a job inside of the body, okay? And it gets put on shutdown. That part of the factory gets put on shutdown. It's not deemed as important by the body when you are in fight or flight. If you are in high stress mode, fat loss is, and maybe you're thinking, well, remember that time when I was heartbroken, or, you know, something happened and I lost all of that weight. I'm talking about chronic, ongoing, day to day. You are constantly under some level form of stress. You've now normalised it. It's actually, you know, your comfort zone. It's really hard. It can be really hard to drop body fat. We want to create this safe environment. So we want to help to better regulate little ways. In fact, I'll come on to ways in which we can do that. But when we talk about calories specifically, your calories also help or hinder that environment. So when we talk about the high inflammatory foods, the junk food, the processed food, the high sugar, which I do a lot of, you know, I'll give you the best options and talk about this on my Instagram page. I'll maybe snap things and put it on stories, because again, not everyone is wide open to the better options to pick up, but these foods actually cause more inflammation, create a harder environment for our body to feel at ease and to encourage fat loss, versus you opt for a more nutrient dense whole food diet. You're paying attention to get fruit, vegetables, quality protein, vitamins, minerals, that you're focused on really nourishing your body. That creates such a thriving environment for bones, muscles, cellular health. Kind of going off on one here. I listen to a lot of podcasts. You might gather that when you listen to this, because I'll reference things all of the time that I've been listening to. I'm not here as the Messiah. A lot of what I might be talking about is I'm passing information on. But I was listening to a podcast, this is years ago, and it's really stuck with me. So, really close family member was going through bit of a health scare at the time, and changes need to be made to diet. So I am the person who will go away and do all of the research and do all of the help and be the supportive, you know, the supportive person as best that I can. I was listening to this podcast, and this I don't know whether he was a doctor or a scientist, but he was talking about how it's really important that our cells are able to absorb the nutrients from the food. Okay, anyone who's interested in this will find this fascinating. I definitely did. When we put junk and like inflammatory foods and inflammatory oils into our body, it's like wrapping our cells in cling film, is what he was saying, which I just thought was like a brilliant analogy. So he said, essentially, if you're constantly putting in this junk, and it doesn't matter if it fits your calories, you're wrapping your cells in cling film. So then when you eat the good stuff, that one salad or that little bit of nutrient-dense food, your body's unable to utilise it. Your cells cannot absorb the goodness. You're not feeling the benefit. And again, this is why consistency is so important. Consistency with eating the good stuff, not just doing it for bouts of time, to crash diet, to lose weight, because we want our body to be thriving from the inside out, ongoing. And we can get away with, you know, the takeaway, the glass of fizz, the piece of birthday cake, whatever, as an exception to the rule, but it can't be the norm. Doesn't matter if it's low calorie or not, it can't be the norm. It's putting the body under more stress. So it's just adding fuel to the fire. I thought that was a really good analogy. I often think about sharing that. I'm glad I've just been able to manage to shoehorn that in somewhere, and it can be undone. If you're thinking, oh, crikey, all I do is eat, you know, these quick fix ready meals and junk and drinking loads of alcohol, and now you're thinking every cell in your body is wrapped in cling film. Like, our cells are, like, our body is so clever. It replenishes, it detoxes. We don't need any of these fancy teas to detox. It does that itself. We have to give it the opportunity, obviously, but over time we just get more consistent with eating the good stuff. Again, you'll hear me talk about start small with your diet, worry less about, you know, this low calorie fix, and think more about how can we eat the foods that are going to help us to feel satiated, help us to feel energized to do our workouts, help us recover from our workouts, give us that good mood, that good energy, don't lead to chronic inflammation, help us reduce bloat. All of that, if we look to incorporate that more into our diet, we naturally just put ourselves in a better position to achieve fat loss, but also to manage stress and to live in this healthy state, really, which we know a healthy state falls into line with a healthier body weight. It's not to say that we're always going to be at our, you know, peak physical condition, but it takes you out of this yo-yo cycle. Okay, some supportive shifts that I thought I'd share that can actually work. And again, this is going to require you taking time for yourself and creating boundaries. I absolutely understand that a lot of why you are stressed is because you don't have time for yourself. So that is the stress, and it's causing more stress. Working with a client at the moment, and different times throughout a week, she'll have these meetings with whoever it might be, and it really stresses it out, brings high stress, and it always triggers, oh, I just need to go and eat this way, or have this, or Nick, I've just had these mad cravings, and we undo the day, and I'm like, okay, so we've had like really stressful meetings. So what she has started to do is put into her calendar 15-minute break to walk. She's going to hold herself accountable. I'm going to hold her accountable to get out and walk after these stressful meetings, okay? So we're not going to, because we need to unlearn the behaviour of stressed, eat the chocolate. So she's going to go out and she's going to get a walk. Getting the walk, getting the vitamin D, getting the fresh air, moving your body, there's more value to that than just getting in steps. That's a natural way to help lower cortisol, as is resistance training, just any form of exercise will help to lower cortisol, to help to re-regulate, which is what we want to be looking to do as many times during the day as we can. Stop overtraining is another top tip. You might not know if you're overtraining, but I would say the sweet spot for working out is, the sweet spot I would say is 4 times a week, especially if you're a woman sort of like 38 plus. Our body, like, we need to have those rest recovery days. I definitely sometimes find it hard to rest and recover. You can build in yoga, you can build in you know, your active walks. I like to go out and wear a weighted vest, so I feel like I'm doing a little bit more than you know, just a regular walk, and that definitely is how I make it work. But stop overtraining, ladies. It's not the key. It's not the key to success. Sleep. We can sleep our way to fat loss in the way that the sleep is when the magic happens. The sleep is when inflammation is lowered. The sleep is when, you know, our body naturally detoxifies itself. It's when recovery happens, especially if if you are someone who trains a lot, or you lift heavy weights. We want to see the benefits of that, but we tear down the muscle in the session. Transformation is not made in the session. That's where the damage is done to the muscle. And then during your sleep is where the recovery process kicks in. So it's really important that we sleep, but ultimately it's where we get the opportunity to re-regulate. And I think scientifically we need around 7.5 hours. I think like you've got to know your own body best on this one. The process of like the brain cleans itself during sleep, which is just, how amazing is that? The brain cleans itself, and I think it takes around between 7 and 8 hours is what has been shown in research. This is why the whole get your 8 hours sleep is a thing, because that's how long it takes for the brain to go through all of the processes. So if you're not getting that, think about what you're slowing down. The process of your brain being able to clean itself is probably the way to describe it. Detoxify, re-regulate. If you're a new mum listening to this and you're thinking, Nick, like, I wish I could get 8 hours sleep, I've been there. I have been there. Ride it out, mama. This is a period in life that we just need to embrace. The sleepless nights will not last forever, I absolutely promise. Take care of all of the other ways in which you can manage stress, and we'll get out the other side. I'm here for any help, any questions on that front, because again, I've spoken about this. Breastfeeding mum, like, you're doing all the night wake ups, whether you like it or whether you don't, but getting out on the grounds of a morning and just grounding, like bare feet on the grass or even on the pavement, whatever it is, grounding, feet to the earth, just helps you to calm, regulate, stay off your screens. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this episode up. I hope that there was some takeaways in there, but really what I want to highlight in this episode, what I wanted to talk about, was the importance of us recognising this, like recognising that we cannot carry on running on high stress, telling ourselves that we haven't got time to make our goals count. We haven't got time to, I would really love to drop body fat, I would really love to enjoy myself on that family holiday or that girls trip away. I'd love to be able to wear the swimsuit I was wearing 2 years ago, but you know what the reality is? I've got no time to prep my meals, do any exercise, because my life is so stressful. Like, we need to get in the driver's seat. No one else can do that for you. You have to get in the driver's seat and take a step back and realise, okay, this is not the way that I want to live, and it's a lot of it is being caused by stress. And you know, like, reach out. If you're in a position where you can work with a coach, get a plan in place that maybe removes any overwhelm, because the overwhelm can add to the stress of like not really knowing where to start, not knowing what is enough. Again, that all or nothing. But get a plan that is reasonable to fit your lifestyle. Get some support, have accountability around the plan, because what will happen is, very quickly, by the way, you'll start to realise the benefit of taking better care of yourself, of helping to lower your stress levels. It'll improve your relationships, it'll improve as you as a parent, it'll improve the way that you see yourself, the way you show up. It's going to have that lovely knock-on effect to your dress size and the clothes that you get to wear. But it's a big factor, I think, in why so many women struggle at the moment. A big factor, and we're just accepting it as normal. And I think there are going to be periods where we've just got to take on a little bit more stress than what is normal, and that's okay. That's okay, that's part of life. But we don't want to be there too long. We don't want to get stuck there too long and normalise it and just accept it as being our story. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Any takeaways, any shares, any comments, any feedback? I know I'm asking this on the end of every episode. I'm genuinely intrigued by any takeaways, and I appreciate you all listening, and I will see you on the next episode.